1. The city I live in is kind of locally notorious for having a fuck ton of glitches. And practically every person you meet around here can tell you at least 2 unexplainable things that have happened to them. I guess it's cause we live in a really historical war-torn area. The city that started the Revolutionary War and was involved in the Civil War is just bound to be paranormal central. But to get to the point, the glitch I wanted to tell you about happened on the way to a friend's house, way out in the country. He was driving back the way we always go and we were talking like normal. Without even thinking about it, he pulled into what was supposed to be a turning lane to turn off on the road that leads to his house, only to realize he'd pulled off into a median full of grass. Before I could open my mouth to ask why the hell there was grass there, my friend suddenly blurts out that the road was missing. And sure enough, the entire road we were supposed to turn onto just wasn't there. It was a big field with some woods way off, about 150 to 200 feet back. We sat there for a good 5 minutes trying to figure out what was going on. We could see the same gas station we always pass way back down the road, so we knew we were in the right spot, but just because we were so shocked, my friend even pulled out his phone and checked the GPS. We were definitely where we were supposed to be. Since we couldn't really do anything else, we pulled the car out of the median and drove back the way we came for a couple of minutes, while my friend called his brother at home. His brother thought we were nuts and told us to turn back around and come home. So that's what we did. We turned around and we drove back to the exact spot we had stopped at before, and the road was back where it should have been. The grass median was gone, the field had houses in it, and we quickly turned onto the road. My friend joked that if we didn't hurry and turn, the road might disappear on us again. This glitch happened about a year after the one I posted about before. The really long one that ended up reading more like a short story. And it was kind of around the same area. Lots of people here talk about the same kind of weird moving land type stuff, where roads and other landmarks and structures get misplaced or something for short periods of time. I've no idea why though. I'm not read up on a lot of glitch theories or speculation or anything, so honestly I'm at a complete loss here. 2. On a Friday, I had made plans to drive to the city for the weekend with my boyfriend and good friend to visit one of my long-time best friends who lived in an apartment there. Luckily, another one of my really good friends I had met at college lived in the same city, so we had talked about meeting up sometime that weekend. When I got there on Friday, we had a great time catching up and ended up going to bed pretty late. I remember I had texted my college friend about meeting up around 10 or 10:30 in the morning to get breakfast at a cool restaurant she loves. The next morning, I woke up dead tired and a little stressed because I had forgotten to set an alarm, and I figured she had texted me a few times by then. I looked at my phone to see if she had texted me anything, and noticed it was 10:31 in the morning. I freaked out a little because I knew she was expecting to hear from me. But I noticed she hadn't texted me, or anything either, so I figured we were both having a late morning. After a few minutes of checking notifications, I decided to go back to sleep after setting my alarm for another hour. When my alarm went off, the others were starting to wake up, so I sat up on the couch where I had been sleeping, and we started chatting. I checked my phone to see if my college friend had sent me any messages, and noticed it was 9:30 in the morning. I thought that was super weird, as I could have sworn when I woke up earlier it was around 10:30. Now I know that some people may think, oh, it was a time change. Time change doesn't happen in the middle of the morning. Brushing it off is just a weird, hyper-realistic dream. My longtime friend made us breakfast, and we talked about what we wanted to do for the weekend. Suddenly, I got a text message. I turned on my phone and noticed I had a message from my college friend about meeting that day. And it was 10:31. I suddenly got a weird déjà vu feeling. It seriously felt like when I had woken up earlier. I somehow went back in time an hour and reset the morning so I would be awake and ready when she texted me. I really don't know how to explain it. It remains the weirdest morning I've ever had in my life. Has anyone else experienced something like this? 3. So it's gone noon where I am, and I've had the weirdest night. You know the whole fake wake dream thing? Where you wake up but you're not really awake and you go through your morning or even part of your day, and then wake up to realize you were dreaming. But now you're sure you're awake, and yet you're not. And you repeat. It's a common enough trope, done brilliantly by people like Neil Gaiman in his Sandman comic series. Anyway, it's a trope because it does happen to people. A lot of people, perhaps. It certainly has happened to me several times in my life. Usually in my third or fourth iteration, I wind up talking to someone about how I've had 3 false awakenings. And we joke about how I might still be dreaming. Then I do a reality check, like you do when you want to go lucid dreaming. And it tells me I'm in reality. And I'm not. But I don't find out for a while. Anyway, last night I had, or well, maybe it was this morning, I had a bout of these false awakenings that was the longest I can ever remember. It has to have been in the double digits. That on its own wouldn't be enough to be glitch-worthy. No, it's what happened after I came to the awareness that I was false waking. I started to struggle, actively struggle, to wake up. I started not trusting the reality around and kept shaking my head, probing my memory, randomly reality testing, going online and trying random websites, sending messages to people I don't normally talk to. It was like I was testing the limits of a holodeck program or something like that, trying to find the errors in an imperfect simulation. And that's when I started hearing the voices. It started like bleed through, like there was a video playing on my laptop, and I was sleeping beside it, but the sound was leaking into my dream. I could hear voices, some of them asking questions, and I tried to shout out to them, but they couldn't hear me. That's exactly what it'd be like if I was listening to a podcast in my sleep. They can't hear me, obviously. It's a recording. Anyway, the voices were saying things like, "We've tried everything. He's not going down. He's waking up. It's not possible. Get Talbot down here now." The name Talbot stood out to me for some reason. I don't know a Talbot in real life. The only fictional one I know is from the Hulk comics. Anyway, I started to freak out, and the next false waking is not my bedroom. It's dark, I'm on a gurney, or a trolley being wheeled somewhere, or carried anyway, and I can barely see. Things are very blurry. But there are people around me, shapes. The words were coming from them. I try to sit up or move my limbs. No good. Then someone notices I'm awake and they freak out. And then blackness, and I'm back in my bed and bedroom waking up again. But there's a problem. It's like I'm lucid dreaming, but the dream hasn't coalesced into the hyper vividity that lucid dreams usually have. The closest thing I can describe it as, it's like I was walking through a movie where they want to tell the viewer it's a dream. Perspective is off, walls are blurry. The distance is an imperfect blur. I was scared, but I laughed out loud and said, "That's not even remotely convincing." And I picked up my laptop and flung it against the wall. My emotions were all over the place. Terrified that I'd wake up and find my laptop smashed, or the blurriness would go away, and I would be a crazy man with a broken laptop. Instead, it was like a pause in a video game, the laptop in the process of hitting the wall, frozen in mid-air. Then I'm back in the trolley. Gurney. Except now it's mega bright. And there's a man's voice talking. He uses a lot of words I don't know, but a few stick out. Simulation. Interregnum. Psychic. And then I hear slurred words coming out of my own mouth. Tell you son of a bitch. I can't remember ever calling someone a son of a bitch. My swearing is much more of the crude and wordy type. I'm far more likely to call you an ignorant fuckstick, an inbred mongoloid sister raper, or the sweaty shit stain of a pedophile's leftovers. Son of a bitch isn't my go-to insult. Also, it didn't sound like my voice, slurred speech notwithstanding. I don't remember anything after that. I'm almost certain there was something to remember after that, but it's a blank. The next thing in my memory is waking up very slowly this morning and hitting snooze on my alarm. And then the morning's events came back to me very slowly. Looking around the room, I know this is reality. I know it. I can't believe any of the dreams ever fooled me for a second, because none of them had the quality of this reality. And yet I am compelled, for no rational reason I can explain, to shout and type in case someone somewhere hears it. Talbot, get me out of here. 4. This strange event happened between my husband and I today, and wanted to, sort of get it off my chest and talk about it. People may call me skeptic, but it's more like I'm not a fan of just jumping to some paranormal conclusion right off the bat. I was raised in a household where everything was either God did it or Satan did it. So, on to the event. Since I like staying up late into the night, I usually sleep in my living area. My husband, who usually wakes up early, sleeps upstairs. My son, who is 4, sleeps wherever he lays and is dead to the world for at least 10 hours. I'm not a heavy sleeper. I think that it's learned behavior from my childhood, so it's safe to say my sleeping habits may be a bit off. I believe I finally fell asleep around 3:30 a.m. I can't say when my half of the event happened, but what I remember clearly was knowing that someone was walking past me and looking down at me. Clear as day. I just knew it was my husband and wondered what he was doing because that was something he never did. Once he was asleep. He was asleep. He would occasionally get up to go to the bathroom, but never come downstairs once he was in bed. And before you say, kitchen run. Our fridge is in the basement because our kitchen is super tiny, and it keeps water in a water bottle near the bed. So even though I'm asleep, I can see this figure sort of tiptoe walk past me, and then a few seconds later, walk back towards the stairs. I feel no fear, no alarm, nothing that makes me think there is anything wrong. Now as the figure goes towards the stairs, I feel the urge to open my eyes. I have to force myself as I do. Nothing. Absolutely nothing at all. This weirded me out, and I had to sit there for a minute to wonder if I just had a really weird dream. Around noon, my husband comes home with our Sunday family meal, and during the meal he says, I had the strangest dream. I asked him what it was about, and he goes, I dreamed that I heard someone coming in through the upstairs window, and I walk up to the stairs trying to get your attention, to get the gun, and just as I'm about to go downstairs, I wake up. I got mad because I just wanted to get downstairs and make sure you were safe, and I couldn't. Now I'm wondering about my dream, so to speak. So I wait a few minutes and I say, well, that's weird because I had a weird, I think, dream. That you did come downstairs and you did go to the other room. Now, I'm not sure what happened. I normally don't dream per se. If I do, nonsensical stuff. This felt like no dream. It literally felt as if my husband just walked down the stairs trying not to wake me and our son. Nothing more than that. But then again, is it possible for me to have finished my husband's dream? Possible glitch, maybe not. We have had some creepy things happen over our marriage. Maybe more paranormal than glitchy. 5. About 2 weeks ago, my cousin and best friend flew down to visit me in Florida for a whole week, with my older sister, who I hadn't seen in years, also flying down and joining us as a last-minute surprise. We had a lot of fun hanging out for Memorial Day weekend, and of course, with it being a holiday weekend, it required us to go grocery shopping for all the cooking we were going to do. One dish we were planning to make called for us to get some stuff at a local Khmer grocery store my mom goes to often. On this day, my mom stayed home to clean the kitchen and prepare other meals before we got home with the ingredients. So it was just the 4 of us, my cousin, my best friend, my older sister, and myself. We walked through the aisles and eventually made our way to the back of the store, close to the frozen foods. Not sure if it's worth mentioning, but right next to the wall of frozen food doors, in the back of the store was this eerie hallway that was always so dark, and I couldn't tell what the room at the end was. Every time I go to the store with my mom, I find myself looking down that dark abyss of a hallway and wonder what could be in there. All I knew was that it always made me feel uneasy, and I also wondered why all the Asian grocery stores I've been to had a dark hallway like that. Anyways, as the 4 of us were standing around deciding on what else we needed to get, all of a sudden I heard a voice that sounded exactly like my mom say, "Nene," which was my nickname since I was little that only a handful of people called me by. Startled, I look up from my phone and peer down the aisle to where the entrance of the store was, to see if my mom for some reason had drove her car to come to the store as well. No one had come into the store. At the same moment that I looked up in response to the voice, so did my sister. She heard the exact same voice. It sounded just like her mom. Needless to say, both my sister and I were scared and confused. I'm pretty sure my cousin and best friend were scared too, just by seeing us react to something they were unable to hear. I've read a few posts on here about disembodied voices and a slightly related scarier version of a doppelganger, whose name escapes me unfortunately, and I wonder if what both my sister and I heard was a glitch or something else. 6. It all started when I did my daily meditation differently yesterday afternoon. I usually simply meditated in silence or with some instrumental background music, but yesterday I used a guided meditation. After meditating, I felt this strange feeling of exhaustion flowing through my body and energy. I laid down and immediately fell asleep. What happened in my dream is one of the most profound and intense experiences I've had spontaneously. Throughout my dream, I was partly aware I was dreaming. The first thing that happened was very normal. I dreamt I was in my bedroom, which was completely normal. Nothing was strange or different. Then in my dream, I went to sleep. Keep in mind, I had no control of what was happening. I was simply watching everything through my own eyes, and my body was acting without me controlling it. After I fell asleep in my dream, I found myself in some random bedroom. There was a guy using his laptop on a big bed. For a few moments, I was there alone with him, until another person appeared. It was a blonde-haired woman around 35 years old. She spoke in a strange language I couldn't understand, and she did not understand English or my native language. We started to communicate via movements. When I showed her the man on the bed, she put her finger on her mouth in order to keep me quiet, as if he hadn't noticed us. After that, I woke up. But at first, I wasn't sure if I really woke up, or if I was still in the first level of the dream. I walked around the room for a few minutes, and then went back to sleep, and found myself once again in that man's bedroom. The woman was still there, and this time she approached and kissed me. I was caught off guard, and pushed her away, waking up once more into the first level of my dream. Once again, I wasn't sure whether I was truly awake or still dreaming, until something of a very dark and evil energy entered the dream. I knew it wasn't simply my imagination, since I had felt the very same dark energy once before. The second I felt it, I immediately woke up completely. Why I think I entered another dimension, you might ask yourself. Well, after waking up, I went out to meet my uncle. The moment we meet, I felt something was wrong. He looked slightly different. He had a big beard. I saw him the day before, and he was shaved clean. Also, his energy was different, and he talked in a slightly different accent. Also, I always remember my dreams through a fog. The colors are as prominent and clear. This time I remember everything clearly, as if it happened in real life. What's your take on this? What do you think I experienced? Hey everyone, Hellfreezer here. Thank you very much for listening to 6 true Glitch in the Matrix stories. Basically, until I settle on a format for these particular videos, the Glitch in the Matrix videos, it's just going to be as many stories as I can grab in a week. I thought I was going to do 5 for this time, but I was lucky enough to get 6, so here we are, 6 stories. And I hope you enjoyed them, some really interesting stuff. In an unrelated note, I'm getting followed by guys in dark suits and shades. I'm sure there's no connection with that in these stories. Ah well, until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.